Hi guys and welcome back. In this lesson we're going to discuss how to upload images in production. So we have images uploading working on our test environment or our local environment, but how do we get that into production? If we were to just simply merge our code to Heroku now, we would run into a few problems. Firstly, it is not best practice to use the local disk of your machine for storing images or other files. Secondly, Heroku uses temporary file storage, which means that uploaded images will be deleted after each deployment. So we need a better solution. We're going to use a cloud storage service to store uploaded images separately from our application. For our storage needs, we're going to use Amazon's Simple Self-Storage or S3, which is part of Amazon's AWS service or Amazon Web Services. So the first thing we need to do to set up our application to use cloud storage in production, we need to install a gem called AWS SDK. So back to our gem file. So again, after Rails, hit enter, say gem AWS SDK S3, comma, tab across a little bit. The version number 1.46.0, and as always guys, check the versioning number before you install. Require false. Save that and run bundle install. Now let's give that a minute. Perfect. Now if you don't already have one, it's now time to set up an AWS account. So let me just jump over to the AWS website. Here it is here, aws.amazon.com. Now, in the very beginning of this class, there was the option to code using the Cloud9 service, which is an Amazon online coding tool. So if you went that route, you already have an AWS account set up. So if you've gone that route, you can skip this step. But what you need to do here is create an AWS account. So on aws.amazon.com, click the button here, create a new account. And go through all the steps here. And as mentioned at the beginning of the class, which is a long time ago now, AWS gives you a 12-month free trial. So I already have an account, so let me just sign in with that. Once you sign in, on the top left-hand side of the screen, hit Services. And what we want to do now is create a user via AWS Identity and Access Management, so IAM. So type into the search bar Identity, Access Management. It should pop up. There it is there, look, IAM. So here on this screen, on the left-hand side, click Users. And what we want to do here is create a user while enabling programmatic access. We'll also grant this user administrator access. So here, let's create a new user. So add user, username. So what's your username going to be? This can be your own unique individual name. So I'm going to call this T Staunton hyphen Ruby on Rails Orbit. There we go. Not the best of usernames, but descriptive nonetheless. Next, click here, access type, programmatic access. On the bottom right, click Next for permissions. On this screen now, go to the third box, attach existing policies directly. So don't worry about the first two boxes here. Now, make sure the first one is clicked, administrator access. Click Next for tags, but we don't want anything here, so we skip that. Next for review. So remember your username, make a note of it. Access type, programmatic access with an access key. That all seems fine. We don't need anything else. Click Create User. After clicking Create User, you should see the name of the user together with the access key ID and the secret access key. Copy these keys and store them in a safe place. Mine are obviously on screen but blurred out for security reasons. So as I said, copy the access key ID and the secret access key and store them in a safe place. Now we're going to create an S3 bucket using AWS Console. S3 buckets exist in a global namespace, so the name has to be unique, but otherwise the default bucket settings should be fine. And how do we do that? Well, close this screen. So to create a bucket, go to Services in the top left hand side, click S3, and you'll see here I have no buckets, but you click on the button Create Bucket. So as I mentioned a few moments ago, the bucket name has to be unique, but otherwise the default bucket settings should be fine. So I'm just going to say Ruby on Rails Orbit. And that should be okay. And as you can see here, I'm in the EU, so my region is London, which is perfect. I'm actually going to change it to Ireland because I'm based in Ireland, but your default settings should be fine. It should pick up your region perfectly fine. Click Next. And as mentioned, default settings are fine. Create bucket. Bucket created, Ruby on Rails Orbit. Now, we have our AWS account set up, and we also have set up S3, which is storage, and we've set up a bucket. Now just keep in mind, you probably noticed when you're signing up for the AWS account, it can take up to 24 hours to get your access, so don't panic if you haven't got it just yet. Now we're going to use Heroku env variables to avoid hard coding sensitive information like AWS keys. We will define these variables explicitly. These variables should be named using the prefix AWS, and we can do this using the Heroku config set. So go back into our code editor. Let me clear all this up. Let me pull this up a little bit. Now let me clear it further. There we go. Now, so the first thing we need to do is enter in our access key or our access ID. So as I said a few moments ago, I asked you to copy and paste this out somewhere safe. So let me just put in the command for that. Oh, there it is there. Heroku config :set space AWS underscore access underscore key equals, and I have mine blurred out, but your key goes in there. Hit enter. Perfect. Next, we want the secret key. So let's do the same thing again. Heroku config :set space AWS underscore secret underscore key equals, and I'm going to paste in my key. There it is there, but blurred out for you, but use your individual one you received from Amazon. So let me just check. Heroku config :set AWS secret key equals. Hit enter. Perfect. Next we need to set our region, AWS region. Now, how do you know your region? Let's go back to our AWS console. Here we are. Now, if you click in your internet browser bar, so up the top, you can see here the URL. So click in the URL bar. Now, there's my region, EU-West 2. Copy out your region. Copy. So whatever yours says here, region equals, copy out the part after equals. Paste region in here. Hit enter. Done. Next. Same thing, AWS. This time we're entering in our bucket name. Bucket equals, what did I call my bucket? or orbit. Hit enter. Perfect. Next, we need to use the variables we've just declared in a specific YAML file called storage.yml. So go to config and storage. So here we are in the storage.yml file. And as you can see, if you just scroll down a little bit, the cloud providers or the cloud storage providers have been catered for within the code. Amazon, Google, Microsoft. But what we want to do is we want to enter in our own variable names to refer to the code that we just put in a few moments ago to Heroku. So to refer to our own access key, secret key, region, and bucket. So I'm going to pause this video, guys, and come back in just a moment with our details put in. See you in a second. Okay guys, so here we are back, and as you can see, firstly I've uncommented the relevant lines for our Amazon storage account. Then I've left the service as it is, S3, but then I've put in some variable names which refer to our credentials in our Heroku environment. So AWS access key, secret key, region, and bucket. So go ahead and enter in those names now. And actually, as I look, I just forgot to close out these pieces of Ruby code here. There we go. Perfect. Save that. To finish, we put what we have just defined to use in a production environment by adding an active storage service configuration parameter in production.orb. That was a long word or a long sentence, but go to config environments. So let me have a look here, environments and production. So here, after line 39, I'm going to say comment store uploaded files on Amazon AWS S3. Enter, and what's the configuration parameter we need to put in? config.active_storage, there it is there, .service equals Amazon. So it's referring to our YAML file that we just wrote a few minutes ago, or we just edited a few minutes ago. Perfect, save that. Okay guys, with the changes we've just made here, we're ready to commit and deploy. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next lesson. So see you there.